In Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, not only can you explore the new, exciting Johto region, but you can revisit the classic Kanto region. Having 2 entire maps to explore, you could catch extra Pokemon, fight double the gym leaders, or, in my case, you can get that extra coin, brother. I went to the bank and asked them for singles to make that joke. I don't regret doing that at all. Having double the items and double the trainers should mean you can make double the money, but is that really true? How much money will the game actually let you collect? My goal is to play through the entire game, and every decision I make will be based on what gives me the most money, even if that thing is ridiculous. Together, we'll find out how rich you can really get in Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Let's become Poke-multi-millionaires? That doesn't sound right. There's gotta be a better way to say that. Starting things off, we'll be trying this challenge in Soul Silver rather than Heart Gold, because you can make way more money in Soul Silver, which is very funny considering gold is more valuable than silver. Didn't think that one through, did you, Game Freak? 0 out of 10. Literally unplayable. Money is the only thing I care about, but how rich can I actually get? Every single choice I make throughout the playthrough will be solely based on what makes the most profit. To generate that profit, I need to defeat trainers who give me cold hard cash and collect items, which can be sold for that cold hard cash. These are the 2 ways to make money, but it's more nuanced than just collecting all the items and defeating all the trainers. This can be severely optimized, and I plan to squeeze every last dollar out of this game. Before we start, I know that you can pretty easily make infinite money in this game. I mean, you could just beat the Elite Four a billion times if you wanted, but that would ruin the fun of the optimization, so I do have to set one ground rule. If I can do something over and over again and make money from it, I'm not allowed to do it at all. Things like using the pickup ability to get infinite free items. This includes any rematches of trainers that you can fight over and over. If it's endlessly repeatable and makes money, it's not allowed. With money farming banned, let's see how much money is truly available. I kick off the challenge and I'm faced with a decision immediately. Which starter should I select? All 3 are worth the same at face value, $0. But with all the intricacies of Pokemon, this could be a major factor in how much I make down the line. In this game, one starter will get you less money than the other 2. We'll talk about why later. Between the 2 that make the most money, I can pick which one I like better, so I go with Totodile. It's time to head out on my Pokemon journey. Every new route or city I enter, I'm focused on the 2 ways I can make money: defeating Pokemon trainers and collecting items. But before I can, Mom asks me a question. A question that makes Soul Silver different than any other Pokemon game. Do I want Mom to save some money for me? Is it profitable to give her some of my money? Seems like a simple enough question, right? Nope. When I plan for these challenges, I try to consider absolutely everything. If there's a complicated way to make even a slight profit, it's on the table. And in pursuit of that, I may have accidentally done the most thorough investigation of the Johto mom ever conducted. We'll get into all of this later, but for now, I want to decline her offer. I'm keeping my money. For now. So, I start my journey. I go ahead and collect every item available to me, but I do not fight every trainer. In fact, I only fight the trainers that are mandatory to progress, like skipping youngster Joey and only fighting youngster Mikey, getting a cool $64 in the process. We have ways to make even more money from trainers that aren't available yet, so it's in our benefit to skip them now and come back later. One of the items I'm not allowed to pick up are apricorns. Apricorns grow on trees that refresh every day, meaning you can grab an infinite number of them, assuming you have an absurd amount of time. They can be used to make endless Pokeballs, which can be sold. For that reason, I am not allowed to pick up any apricorns. Repeatable money-making action. It's banned. The first important location I reach is Violet City. Here, I'm forced to enter the Sprout Tower, where 5 of the 7 trainers are mandatory. This is unfortunate, but at least I'm getting some of that sweet, sweet cash. The next thing I have to do is take on the first gym leader, Faulkner. Before I take him on, there are 2 gym trainers to fight, but I can go around them. Normally, I'd do this for optional trainers. However, once I defeat Faulkner, these trainers won't fight you, meaning I would not be able to come back and fight them later for more money. If I don't fight them now, I never can. So better to make some money than no money. Then I can take out the first gym leader with Totodile, giving me the first badge, but I could literally care less about that. More importantly, he gives me $1,500 and a valuable TM. My journey takes me down Route 32, and by changing my calendar to Friday, I can meet the first of the weak siblings. That's W-E-E-K, not W-E-A-K. They don't fight you, so I can't speak to their strength, although based on the general difficulty of the trainers in this game, you could make some assumptions. Friday Frida gives you a poison barb, and their other siblings are scattered across Johto, giving out one-time items if you find them on a certain day. I head through Union Cave where I collect items and can maneuver my way around every trainer. I find myself in Azalea Town where some shady stuff is going down. I'm forced to fight a few rocket grunts in the Slowpoke well, so I make a couple of extra bucks off of that. With that all taken care of, I can enter the second gym. Like I did in the Violet City gym, I fight all the trainers before Bugsy, but we have a slight problem. Twins Amy and Mimi fight as a double battle, so they'll only fight you if you have 2 Pokemon in your party. Currently, I just have Totodile, so this would be money lost forever if I didn't fight them. Of course, I could catch a second Pokemon, but using a Pokeball would mean I lose $100 in value, since that's what I could sell the Pokeball for. Is there a way I can get a second Pokemon without spending any money? Thankfully, after defeating the first gym leader, you receive a free mystery egg, and if you walk around enough, the egg will hatch into Togepi, giving you a completely free second Pokemon. This allows you to take on Amy and Mimi. With all the gym trainers defeated and some extra money in my pocket, it's Bugsy's turn to pay me. Croconaw takes out Metapod and Kakuna, but when it's time to take on Sather, hey, did it just eat a berry? Yes, from this point on, the best Pokemon on gym leaders' teams are all holding items. Couldn't tell you why Faulkner's Pidgeotto doesn't have one. Did they think it was too hard? No, that can't be right. Anyway, items held by trainers' Pokemon can be stolen, and it's in my benefit to take them. Stealing items off this Scyther, though, I actually think it's impossible. Because I can't get past the cut tree in the Ilex Forest without beating Bugsy, I'm limited to the Pokemon before that, and as it stands, no available Pokemon learn an item stealing move via level up. I also don't have access to the daycare, so I can't get the move through breeding. I do have an interesting idea though, and it involves that Togepi I just hatched. Togepi learns the move Metronome, which calls a random other move, so it could call an item stealing move, except all 4 of them are not able to be called by Metronome. It's like whoever decided the Metronome moves did this to exactly piss me off. I explored a few other possibilities, but ultimately I could not find a way to steal this berry. If you can think of some way, let me know in the comments. Honestly, this challenge was so much more complicated than the others that I'm sure I missed something. So let me know any other ways you think I could have made more money. I defeat Bugsy without stealing Scyther's berry, and defeat my rival again as I leave town. Entering the Ilex Forest, I teach Cut, which can be learned by all 3 starters, and collect items on my way up to Goldenrod City. Goldenrod has some super fun activities like playing the lottery and gambling that I'm not allowed to do. These are repeatable money-making actions, so unfortunately, they're not allowed. What I am allowed to do is collect all the items, and there's one very important item that's just out of reach. This item sitting so perfectly in view is the Amulet Coin, the item that would allow us to maximize our money against trainers and not have to avoid all the optionals. But we don't have access to it yet, and we won't for a while, so we continue to only fight who we need to, like the gym trainers in Whitney's gym. One of the trainers has a Meowth that knows Payday. Getting access to this move is one of the ways we can increase the money we make from trainer fights, and we don't have access to Meowth yet. If there was a way we could steal this move, we could get early access to Payday. Unfortunately, we also don't have access to Smeargle, the Pokemon who learns the move Sketch. So there's no way to get access to Payday early either. But before we take on the leader herself, we do have a Pokemon to catch. On Route 34, we can catch an Abra. Fighting wild Pokemon to level up is completely free, so we can level Abra into Kadabra, and eventually, at level 46, it can learn the move we're looking for. To be very real with you, anytime I needed to grind my team by fighting wild Pokemon, I just set them to the level I needed them to be rather than actually doing the grinding. Against Whitney, we can take out Clefairy, and then swap in Kadabra against Miltank. Using the move Trick, we can steal the Lumberry off the cow, keeping the item permanently. Kadabra wins the fight, and we have almost 16k, another valuable TM, and one extra berry, which is only worth $10. But hey, it's something. Pausing here to note that, yes, using a Pokeball to catch Abra cost me $100, and the berry I got was only worth $10, which is obviously not profitable. But we have much more to do with our friend Kadabra. With the third badge, we can get the Squirt Bottle and continue north. The guard asks you to deliver a piece of mail to his friend, and gives you a Spearow holding the mail. I can deliver it on Route 31 to get the TM for rest. And the friend actually lets me keep the Sparrow, giving me a Pokemon that learns Fly. By going back and telling the guard you completed the delivery, he gives you an HP up. We can't get through Route 35 avoiding every trainer, but we do have an interesting choice to make. We can either fight Camper Elliot and Picnicker Brooke to get through, or we can fight Camper Ivan. In general, the less fights the better, and that applies here too, as I opt to take on just one fight. We have another mandatory trainer blocking our path on Route 36, who we would obviously like to avoid. There is a shortcut that can get us around them using a cut tree, but there's also a trainer blocking this path. However, all of this is just to get to the Sudowoodo, and we can actually get there another way. By backtracking all the way to Violet City, we can reach the Sudowoodo from this side, allowing us to avoid the otherwise unavoidable trainer. This clears the way to Ecruteak City, where we have a few trainers to fight, but before we do that, finally, we have access to one of the things that really ramp up the money we can make. By going east onto Route 38, avoiding all the trainers and finding a patch of tall grass, we can catch the Pokemon that you've been waiting for, Meowth. Meowth makes this challenge very interesting, but it's only available in SoulSilver, which is why we had to play it instead of Heart Gold. At level 30, Meowth learns Payday, an attack that gives you money every time you land a hit. This significantly increases the rate you can make money. But with access to Payday, I still have to follow my rules. If I use this on wild Pokemon, that would be a endlessly repeatable money-making action. I'm only allowed to use this on trainer fights. I have to beat the trainer, and I'll use Payday to do so. Before I start knocking trainers out with Payday, I need to do some prep. Payday gives you a set amount of money equal to the level of the user times 5. So keeping Meowth at level 30 would only give me $150 per Payday. I want to get Meowth to level 100, so every Payday gives me $500. I can grind on wild Pokemon to get Meowth to level 100, but again, not using Payday to do this. We take out the required fights with Meowth's Payday, the Rocket Grunt in the Dance Theater, and the Rival in the Burn Tower, picking up extra funds from Payday at the end of each fight. Now it's time to enter the Ecruteak Gym. You technically can skip this gym, but you can't get very far thanks to all the surfing you need to do. So I just take it on now. The problem is that this gym is filled with ghosts. Ghosts who can't get hit by the normal type Payday. I could just defeat them with my other team members and forget about the whole Payday thing, but that's leaving so much money on the table, and I would never. The solution is to catch a Pokemon that can learn a move like Foresight or Odor Sleuth that allows ghosts to be seen. We definitely have access to a few Pokemon that know these moves, but remember that every Pokeball we use is $100 lost. Is there a way to get a Foresight Pokemon for free? My first thought is to take advantage of some of the in-game trades. In Goldenrod, there's an NPC who will give you their Machop for your Drowsy. The monetary benefit of doing this is that all traded Pokemon are holding an item. In this case, Machop is holding a Macho Brace. The Macho Brace sells for $1,500, so it is absolutely worth it to spend $100 catching a Drowsy to trade for Machop. And now we have that Machop, who just so happens to learn the move Foresight. But in order to get Machop to a useful level, we exceed the level cap where traded Pokemon obey you, because obviously this wasn't my Pokemon originally. I can't guarantee Machop will even use Foresight when I need him to. There's gotta be a better option. Thankfully, there is. On certain days in the national park, you can compete in the bug catching contest. This challenge is completely free and gives you 20 park balls to catch available bug-type Pokemon, one of which is Venonat. You keep the Pokemon you catch, and Venonats here are low level, so they'll always know the move Foresight. With Venonat being my original Pokemon, it will always use the move when I ask it to, allowing me to use Foresight, switch in Meowth, and knock out the ghosts with Payday. I do this for all the gym trainers and Morty, switching things up only to steal the berry off Gengar first. We have the first 4 badges and are approaching $40,000. At this point, the game opens up to me. I can go west to handle the Amphi plot and fight the gym leaders there, or I can go east to deal with Team Rocket in Mahogany Town and Lake of Rage. To decide which way I want to go, my only consideration would be which plot events allow me to access the amulet coin first, since this would allow me to fight trainers and get the max amount of money. Unfortunately, you need to do both and get all 7 badges before the amulet coin becomes available. So it doesn't really matter which way I go. I decide to head west towards the 7th badge first, where beating Morty has allowed me to use Surf. Although my only surfer is Feraligatr, picking Totodile wasn't necessary, since I could get a Wooper egg from Primo in Violet City. I avoid all the trainers and collect the items through Mahogany Town, including purchasing a Rage Candy Bar for $300 from this NPC blocking the way. Although you can't directly sell this, you can definitely make a profit off it later. I can't fight Price yet, so I enter Route 43. If you enter this gate, Team Rocket Grunts force you to pay $1,000 to go through, but you can just go around it and still avoid all the trainers. At the Lake of Rage, I run from the red Gyarados and trigger the cutscene with Lance. We get a red scale that you can't sell, but you can trade it for a sellable experience share. In the Rocket Hideout, there's a mix of mandatory and optional trainers, but once you defeat the executives, all of the grunts leave, preventing you from coming back to fight them. So it's financially in my interest to fight all of them now. This includes the same 2 grunts who fight you every time you trigger the motion detectors. Even though this is a repeatable fight, there are only 5 statues, and the statue is turned off once it triggers, meaning there is a limit to the number of times you can fight them. Because I can't generate infinite money from fighting them, all of these fights are allowed. I beat every trainer here and turn off the machine, fight the gym trainers in Price's gym, and take on the man himself. Because I chose not to evolve Meowth, my attacks are weaker, giving me the cash for 2 paydays, where Persian would have definitely only been 1. I steal the berry off Piloswine and take it out, giving me the 7th badge and finally hitting 6 figures of cash in hand. Now it's time to head west of Ecruteak and get the next 2 badges. On routes 38 and 39, we collect items and reach the Olivine City Lighthouse. You can't reach Amphi via the elevator, so you have to fight a few trainers to climb the tower, reaching the top and triggering the Jasmine plot. I grab the medicine, defeat Chuck's trainers and Chuck while stealing his berry, cure Amphi, and do the same to Jasmine. I now have 7 badges and 130k. Immediately after getting your 7th badge, whatever badge that is, you get a call from Professor Elm stating Team Rocket is at it again, messing with the radio broadcasts. This is the event trigger we've been waiting for, so we fly back to Goldenrod. By putting on the rocket disguise, we can enter the radio tower, where we have to fight the grunt blocking the stairs, 1 grunt on the 1st floor, and Executive Petrol before receiving the basement key. We can now navigate to the underground, using the basement key to enter a new section. Before you take on any of the grunts, you're challenged by your rival, where we find one of the craziest things I've ever seen in a Pokemon game. When I defeat my rival, he gives me $2,176. Cool. If I picked Chikorita, he would also give me that amount. But if I picked Cyndaquil, he only gives me $2,048. And do you know why that is? No, seriously, do you know why? Because I don't. This is honestly one of the strangest things I've ever seen. There are like 6 rival fights in this game, but this is the only one where picking a different starter gives you a different amount of money. And I truly have no idea why. There's nothing special about this fight. The fact that I even caught this at all is a miracle. I mean, I'm very reasonably operating with the assumption that the rival fight will always give you the same amount of money, regardless of which starter you pick. This and this alone is why picking Cyndaquil is not an option. I don't even know what to say. I don't understand. Why is it like this? Why is it like this? Anyway, by fighting 2 trainers in the underground, you can finally access the item we've been waiting for, the amulet coin. As I immediately give the amulet coin to Meowth, we've reached a pivotal moment in the run. The amulet coin doubles the money we receive from defeating trainers, but it also doubles the money we get from payday, meaning every payday from a level 100 Meowth is now worth $1,000. We are now at our money-making maximum, meaning we can and should fight every trainer we have access to. I fight every trainer I skipped in the radio tower and clear out every grunt and executive in the underground. Defeating trainers in just one section with the amulet coin, I've almost doubled my money from the entire game pre-amulet coin. This just goes to show how truly essential this item is. After defeating Team Rocket, I pause my forward progress. It's time to backtrack through every single area I've already been, defeating all trainers with amulet coin Meowth. There are still a few items I can't access, but otherwise I completely clean up these areas, defeating trainers payday by payday. At the Lake of Rage, there's a few items to pick up here at high and low tides, and there's an NPC who will give you ethers every time you show him a bigger Magikarp, but this is repeatable. By the time I go back through, I end up with over $600,000. And don't forget, I have plenty of items in my inventory too. Finally, I head east of Mahogany, no longer avoiding trainers, just fighting everyone. I pick up items here and in the ice path, reaching Blackthorn City. I can defeat Claire while stealing her Kingdra's berry, giving us all 8 badges. With this achievement, we can go back to New Barktown and get the Master Ball from Professor Elm. By defeating the Kimono Girls in the Ekritique Dance Theater, I can head to the Whirl Islands, where I collect all the items and encounter the legendary Lugia. However, there's no financial benefit to catching Lugia, although that's not the case for every legendary, but we'll get to that later. With the ability to climb waterfalls, we can now reach most of the areas in Johto, so I collect the items in the few remaining locations, including Victory Road. Here I also defeat the singular trainer, my rival, and make it to the Indigo Plateau. After collecting all the money available in Johto, I sit just shy of $1 million. But that's a problem. If I go into the Elite Four right now, I'll certainly hit $1 million. But the money cap is $999,999. If I'm at the money cap and I make more money, the game has nowhere to put it, so it's just gone. Going into the Elite Four like this would be an enormous mistake. I need to find a place to put my money, and the only option available to me is dear old Mom. My brain is broken. Mom holds money for you, and that's great. We definitely want to transfer money out of our pocket and have her hold it. No question about that. There are some nuances to this though. First off, how much money can she hold? Searching around on the internet, I wasn't able to find this answer. Seems like a pretty basic thing, but whatever. I tested it myself and Mom took all my money. She can hold as much money as I can, just shy of $1 million. This essentially doubles the amount of cash I can hold. But when Mom holds money for you, she buys items. I don't want her to do that. I just want her to hold my money. Thankfully, after you give her money, you can tell her not to spend it. So between my mom and I can collect just under $2 million. Taking on the Elite Four and Champion requires winning 5 back-to-back fights, and one Meowth is not gonna cut it. I don't have enough payday PP to take out all 25 Pokemon, and even if I did, staying alive that long is really unlikely. I have healing items, but I don't want to use any items I don't need to. To get the most bang for my buck in the Elite Four, it's time to get banging. By using the Pokemon Daycare to breed Meowth, I get access to more paydays by creating more paydayers. Side note, I caught a male Meowth instead of a female Meowth and realized it too late, but both are available and it doesn't change anything that happened previously, just pretend it was a female the whole time. By breeding with a female Meowth, the baby will be a Meowth. But of course, we need a Pokemon to breed with. I obviously don't want to catch a Pokemon if I don't have to. Luckily, one of our gift Pokemon can breed with Meowth. Eevee. By putting Eevee and Meowth in the daycare, we can get unlimited Meowths. And this is completely free, since you don't have to pay anything until you take the Pokemon out of the daycare. I won't ever be able to take them out, but that's totally fine. With an unlimited number of Meowths, this means I can bring multiple Persians to the Elite Four. I evolved them because the additional base stats of Persian become necessary here to stay alive. I don't have 3 amulet coins, but that's completely fine. If 1 amulet coin is in play, it doubles all paydays used in battle, no matter which Pokemon uses it. So against will, I take out each Pokemon with payday and steal the citrus berry from Xatu. Koga, the second Elite Four member, presents a bit of an odd situation. His ace Crobat has a citrus berry as usual, but a second team member has an item. Muck is holding the Black Sludge. This is a problem for 2 reasons. First, Muck has the ability Sticky Hold, preventing its item from being stolen. And even if I was able to take that item away, I don't have 2 Pokemon that can steal items. Kadabra needs to hold Crobat's berry, so who can steal the other item? With both of these problems, it's simply too difficult to try and take the Black Sludge. Is something I will never say. To solve the first problem, we need a Pokemon that can invalidate an opponent's ability. Thankfully, we picked up the perfect Pokemon as a free gift, the Shuckle in Cyanwood. At level 40, Shuckle learns Gastro Acid, a move that eliminates the effect of abilities. So, we can take the Black Sludge now, but we don't have a second item-stealing Pokemon. Or do we? Persian has an item-stealing move in its level-up moveset, Switcheroo. However, Persian learns it at level 1. You can't get a level 1 Persian. Breeding it will just give you a level 1 Meowth, and Switcheroo is not in Meowth's moveset. But just because you can't get a level 1 Persian doesn't mean you can't learn the move. In Blackthorn City, you can find the Move Reminder, who allows you to learn moves in your level up moveset. This costs 1 Heart Scale, an item that isn't available for purchase, but we do have access to one that I found on Route 32. The Heart Scale sells for $50, so using it saves more money than using a $100 Pokeball. However, we'd be using it to only add $10 in value from the berry. Thankfully, this is not the only fight with more than 1 item. We defeat Koga, stealing both items off his Pokemon, and use a bunch of paydays in the process. Each of the remaining Elite Four members only has 1 item, so we payday our way through these fights, only having to change up the strategy on Karen to foresight the ghosts. Through the 5 fights and 3 Persians, we use all 60 of our payday PP, plus payment for winning, to dramatically increase our money. We're the Johto champion, but that's just for Johto. We have a whole second region to explore. With the SS ticket from Professor Elm, we take the boat to Kanto. After fighting all the trainers, picking up a few items, including a few secret ones, we make it to Vermilion City. Immediately, we can pick up an item that seems helpful, the Luck Incense. This does the exact same thing as the Amulet Coin, but because the Amulet Coin works as long as it enters the battle, there's never a need for 2 of them. So the Luck Incense doesn't really help us. Now that we're in Kanto, we travel across the entire region, picking up every item and fighting every trainer. Many trainers have items, so we make sure to take all of them. This includes each of the Kanto gym leaders, whose aces continue to have held items. There's also a lot of double battles across Kanto. This is absolutely amazing for me, because these fights are money-generating machines. I can bring 6 Persians to these fights and just have them continue to target each other with payday. Once 1 or 2 Persians are left, I can take out the opposing Pokemon. Each double battle nets me at least like $15,000. I know this kinda seems gimmicky, but hey, I'm just trying to beat these fights, and I'm just really bad at it. Eventually, we run into an issue. Mom is holding $1 million for us, but now we're approaching that $1 million threshold again. Mom can't hold any more for us. So now we are legitimately reaching the limit of cash we can hold. This is also why I haven't sold any of the items I've collected, keeping the value outside of the pure cash I've collected. This means the time has come to transfer our cash into more items. This is the only way to retain the value of money while still freeing it up to collect more from trainers. In a perfect world, we'd be able to buy an item for one price, let's say $100, and sell it for that same $100. But that's not how it works in Pokemon. All items that can be purchased have a sell value of half, meaning if you buy something for $100, you can sell it back for $50. If we were to go this route, we'd lose 50% value on everything we buy. This is obviously not ideal, but it's better than keeping our money at the max and getting nothing every time we defeat a trainer. But are there any ways we can get a better value than a 50% loss? In the Goldenrod Underground, a few shops pop up at certain times throughout the week. One of these is the Bargain Shop, open Monday mornings, where you can buy items for a discounted value. This is exactly what we're looking for. However, the discounts we get here are actually too good. You can buy items here for less money than their sell value. So you could buy a nugget here for $4,500 and immediately sell it back for $5,000, a $500 profit. This breaks the one rule of the challenge. We cannot complete actions that are money-making and endlessly repeatable. If they sold items for their exact sell value like the Energy Guru and Emerald, we could totally use it. But we could make infinite money from the Bargain Shop, so it's banned. So where does that leave us? There is one item we can buy that will give us slightly over 50% return: Pokeballs. If I buy 10 or more Pokeballs at a time, I'll receive a free item, a Premier Ball. And I want to buy Pokeballs exactly 10 at a time to maximize the number of Premier Balls I can get. This is the only way to purchase items and get over half the value in return. And again, this is losing value. I'm losing money by doing this. I would technically go broke if I did this forever, but it's actually profitable because the alternative is getting no more money. But before I commit to this strategy, there's one more thing I have to consider. I can only buy items for a 50% loss, but there's another person who can buy items with my money. That's right, we're back, baby. Mom will buy items for you, but does she get a better value than we can get ourselves? We need to understand what Mom buys for us and how much she pays for it. It's well documented that Mom buys these items for you. But, I think everyone who compiled this information just stopped here because literally everything else I need to know is just not here or it's completely wrong. For example, Mom buys you a Repel before she buys you a second Super Potion. More importantly, Bulbapedia says that Mom will buy you an item for every $10,000 you save. This is just not true. Mom buys the first 7 items every $5,000 you save. Then she buys the 8th item when you reach $50,000, a $20,000 jump for some reason. Finally, she buys the last item at $60,000, making each interval random and pointless. Honestly, I don't even blame Bulbapedia for getting it wrong because why? Why is it like this? Mom starts buying berries for you at some point after this, but she doesn't do it right away, so it wasn't clear to me when this starts. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Despite Mom's purchasing of items being a very normal part of this game, I could find no information about how much money she actually spends. Is she even getting a good deal on this stuff, or is she just wasting our money? We're trusting her way too much. Also, how crazy is it that this game came out like 15 years ago and what, nobody has tried to figure this out except me? That's insane. Anyway, how much money Mom spends on these items will determine if it's worth it for her to buy items for us. As a reference point, the Pokeball Premier Ball strategy costs $2,000 and gives us $1,100, a 55% return. If Mom can get us better than 55%, we'll let her buy us items. If it's lower, we want to do the Pokeball thing instead. Mom starts by buying us a Super Potion, normally costs $700 and sells for $350. Mom buys it for $600, a 58% return. Okay, not bad, Mom. You got that for $100 cheaper than normal. Next, she buys a Repel worth $175 for $270, a 65% return. Another great discount. She then buys a second Super Potion, but this time, no, she buys it for the same amount, but could you imagine? Next, Mom buys a Moonstone worth $1,050 for $3,000, a 35% return. Mom, what the fuck are you doing? Why did you just get randomly ripped off for this one item? Who is your Moonstone guy, Mom? They fucking hate you. Genuinely, I find it deeply funny that Mom gets completely screwed for this one item. The rest of them she either gets for a good value or a break-even value. Actually, I'm almost positive that she pays nothing for the berries once you get to that point, which obviously I wouldn't be allowed to take, but it's very funny that it's just the Moonstone that she completely whiffs it. The bad deal on the Moonstone actually means that you generally don't want Mom to buy you items. You have to go in this order, so once you let Mom buy you that Moonstone, you're constantly trying to recoup the profit from that horrendous deal. But if you let Mom buy you just the first 3 items, the 2 super potions and the repel, you'll get over a 55% return. But then you want to stop her. After that, she is not making you a profit. Well, that sure was a lot of time, effort, and math to get 3 items for a 5% better value. I gotta go touch grass or something, goddamn. So, after getting the 3 items from Mom, I buy Pokeballs in groups of 10, getting the free Premier Ball, and continue working my way through Kanto. This is pretty standard fare, as I mostly just collect items and take out every single trainer. But we do run into a few interesting situations. Blaine, the 7th gym leader, has 3 Pokemon holding white herbs, rather than just his ace. I only have 2 item-stealing Pokemon, so I could use a second heart scale I picked up in Vermilion to teach Switcheroo to another Persian, but we'll need that heart scale later. And besides, now that I have the National Pokedex, there's a way to get an item-stealing Pokemon for free. By traveling back to the national park, I can take part in the bug catching contest again. But now that I've beaten the Elite Four, more Pokemon will appear here. This includes Illumise, a Hoenn area bug that, at level 45, learns the move Covet. Because the bug catching contest is completely free, we can steal all 3 white herbs from Blaine to turn a profit. As we defeat Blue and get all 16 badges, we get access to the final HM of the game, Rock Climb. This gives us access to a few new areas, but before we can explore them, we have another limitation. The DS games fixed the bag from the Gen 3 games, which were extremely limiting in the number of different items you can hold. Now, there's no limit to the number of different items you can hold. There is, however, a limit to the number of one item you can hold, 999. Because Game Freak fixed the bag limit issues, there is now no PC for your items. Once I get 999 Pokeballs, I can no longer take advantage of the free Premier Ball method. There is one thing I can do to give myself some wiggle room. Although I can't place items into an item PC, I can place items on Pokemon in the PC. So, by breeding enough Meowths to fill almost all the slots in my box, I can have 18 boxes of 30 Pokemon plus the 6 in my party hold Pokeballs, allowing me to buy an additional 540. But this still isn't enough to cover all the money I can get from trainers. I have officially run out of ways to maximize my return. So now I just buy whatever I want for a 50% return. It's time for me to take on the final trainers of the game, including the ultimate boss fight, Red. His Pokemon are all leveled into the 80s, so each Persian is only going to be able to get a few paydays off before dying. This means I want to bring as many Persians as I can. However, to reach this fight, you need to bring a Pokemon with Rock Climb, and Persian can't learn it. So I have to bring 1 Rock Climb Pokemon and 5 Persians. I make sure to bring my Switcheroo Persian to take the Light Ball off Red's Pikachu. Because of the high difficulty of this fight, I'm not able to use many paydays, but we make some money as we defeat Red. I can now clear out the final stretch of trainers in the game. In order to make sure I get as much money as possible, I buy a specific array of items from the Pokemart. This clears out just enough space to get money from all trainers, giving me a final total of $999,975. I didn't want to hit the money cap and lose money, but I also didn't want to clear out too much space, as buying items is still bad value. I'm very happy reaching this amount of money. We now have access to all the items in both regions, as we can rock climb in many different places to reach items previously unreachable. In the Kanto Underground, I can turn over the Rage Candy Bar I paid $300 for to get a TM worth $37.50, a massive profit. Most of the legendary Pokemon plots aren't worth doing since I don't get any additional items from them. However, I do need to fight Articuno in the Seafoam Islands, since there's a Zinc that's only obtainable after running from the bird. The other legendary Pokemon worth meeting is Ho-Oh, which you can do in SoulSilver after beating the game. Rather than just defeating this legendary, it's actually profitable to catch it because of the items available in the Ruins of Alph. Here, there are 4 secret chambers. each containing an array of items. However, to open each of the chambers, a specific set of criteria must be met. So, I need to do an evaluation for each of the chambers to decide if the value of the items within are worth more than the cost of meeting the criteria. Let's take the first chamber. To open it, you need to use an escape rope worth $275. The 4 items within have a value of $495. So, it's worth it to use the escape rope for a profit of $220. The second chamber requires you to have a Ho-Oh in your party. I used the Master Ball to catch it, which can't be sold and therefore is worth $0. But even if I used a Pokeball, the value of the items within is worth more than $100. The third chamber requires you to have a Water Stone, an item I collected in the Seafoam Islands. However, unlike the escape rope chamber, this doesn't consume the item, so getting in is free, obviously making the value worth it. The final chamber is an interesting one. To open it, you need to use the move Flash. I received the TM for Flash and have plenty of Pokemon that I can teach it to. However, TMs have a high sell value, so I'd like to avoid using up this TM if possible. Luckily, there's one way we can teach Flash for much less money. There's one Pokemon who can learn Flash via level up. Volbeat, another Pokemon you can catch for free in the bug catching contest. However, like Persian and Switcheroo, Volbeat learns Flash at level 1. With Meowth and Eevee hogging the daycare spots, the only way I can get this move is by using the second and only other heart scale available in this game to teach Flash to Volbeat. Using the $50 heart scale is cheaper than using the $500 TM, and we get value by opening all 4 of the Ruins of Alph chambers. Even though we have access to every area in the game, there are a few items we aren't able to collect. To heal the sick Miltank at Moo Moo Farms, you need to feed it 7 Oran Berries. However, there are only 5 non-repeatable Oran Berries available throughout the game. This means we cannot get TM83, a value of $1,000 we can't receive. Additionally, if you speak to Bill's grandfather on Route 25, he'll ask to see a few specific Pokemon. If you show him, you can receive some valuable items. First, he wants to see a Lickitung in exchange for an Everstone. This item is worth $100, and it would cost $100 to use a Pokeball on Lickitung. Even though you break even on this action, it's still worth doing. Bill's grandfather will only move on to the next Pokemon after you show him the first one, and these next few are actually profitable. Following this, you get a Leaf Stone for showing him Oddish, a Water Stone for showing him Staryu, and then a Fire Stone for showing him Vulpix. All of these stones are worth more than $100, so it's worth it to use a Pokeball to catch them. It's important to note that 2 of these Pokemon can be found in the Safari Zone, where you can catch Pokemon for free. However, there's a $500 entrance fee, and in Johto, there are no items to collect. So, entering the Safari Zone is not profitable. The last Pokemon Bill's grandfather asks to see is Pichu. Pichu is not available to catch anywhere, and is only obtainable by catching and breeding Pikachu. Because Meowth and Eevee are in the daycare, this item cannot be obtained. Thank goodness he asked to see Pichu last. There is only one final analysis I need to do, and that's regarding the other in-game trade Pokemon. I already caught Drowsy to trade for the Machop, but are the rest of the trades worth it? There are several traded Pokemon holding berries. Berries are only worth $10, and since you're spending $100 to catch the Pokemon to make the trade, none of these are worth it. Additionally, there's a Magneton available holding a $50 Metal Coat, which is also a bad value. There are 2 trades worth completing. By catching a Pineco and evolving it into Fortress, you can trade Steven in Silphco for his Beldum. Beldum is holding a Dawnstone, which can be sold for $1,050. Definitely worth it. The other trade is with an NPC in Blackthorn City. She will give you a Dodrio holding a Smoke Ball, but the Smoke Ball is only worth $100, so using a Pokeball would make this a break-even trade. However, the Pokemon she's looking for is Dragonair. After you defeat Claire, you can get a gift Dratini for free and evolve it into Dragonair by spending $0. Since no Pokeball was used, you can make a profit of $100 by completing this trade. Finally, every trainer in the game is defeated and every possible item is collected. So now we can tally everything up and find out once and for all how much money you can make in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. If I don't complete any repeatable money-making actions and optimize for as much money as possible, I made $3,382,974. This is over $1 million more than you can make in Fire Red and Leaf Green, although it doesn't seem like double the regions equals double the money. Still, 3.4 million is a crazy amount of money, especially in the Pokemon universe. Special shout out to my mom, who's just sitting there holding $1 million for me. Thanks, Mom. Wait, you spent the entire $1 million? What did you buy? You bought 7 Moonstones?